Welcome to my channel. I'm here with,
Jennifer Samuel Chance.
and we're going to share with you things about branding and sharing your story, your message through speaking.
Go.
And Jennifer's the expert, so she'll be giving you all the answers.
Thanks, Lisa.
You're so welcome.
We've actually been doing a couple of these lives recently just to answer some questions that are very, very common that I get when it comes to speaking. And then also, too, there are some lives that we have where we answer questions about branding and strategy and all that stuff, too. So today it's about me.
It's about
And there you go. So Lisa's going to ask some questions. She's asked them of me in person for real, but they tend to be pretty common questions that I get all the time. So take it away, Lisa.
yes. So I have my notes here so that I don't forget what I'm supposed to ask.
Okie dokie.
All right. So, I'm a speaker, but I remember when I first started speaking, I didn't know where to start. Where do I start?
Okay. So probably one of the top three questions I get: where do I start? How do I get started? Because people often approach me. Sometimes they have an idea of what they're going to say.
Mhm.
Sometimes they've been given an assignment of what to say.
That
And
part.
some of them just know they got to say something. They're not quite sure what that is.
Right.
So when I work with clients, I usually take them through my methodology, which is called the executive stage presence. And the first phase of that is basically clarification,
Mhm.
knowing exactly what you're going to speak about and why and to whom. It's really kind of surprising though, because this is often the phase that people skip. They sometimes come to me and say, I have a speech, and it may already be written, and they'll give me the speech and say, okay, I need to do that. And
Here.
it's like, I ask questions. Do we have any information here?
Mhm.
So you have to often backtrack and start with the bare basics as to who you're speaking to, why you're speaking, and what do you want them to do at the end of it all.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I know we've had that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and you've had me clarify and ask me a lot of questions, and it was really helpful to get me out of my brain and getting something down on paper,
Right.
so that we could go through it over and over again. But yeah, your clarification part is key.
Yeah. Because what happens is this: if you don't do that work ahead of time, and
Hmm.
sometimes you may be in a situation where you're speaking maybe at a conference or to an audience you don't know, so you may not have access to a lot of information regarding the audience. So I get that.
Hmm.
But if you're not putting in some time and thought into what is my message, why am I speaking, what is my intent, which means what do I want them to do after they've heard me?
Mm.
Do I want them to come congratulate me? Do I want them to buy whatever it is I happen to be presenting? Do I need them to go to a website? What is the intent? And that definitely um, really makes a huge difference as to how you approach the speech. So if you're not taking that into consideration when you first start speaking,
Hmm.
oftentimes when you speak, it's hit and miss.
Mm.
And I don't know about you, but I've seen it time and time again where it was obvious, even before I even started doing this work,
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
was really obvious that the person that was speaking hadn't done their homework.
Mm.
And, it showed up in the way the speech was. It doesn't mean they were a bad person, but it just means they didn't do their homework ahead of time to make sure that the audience's needs were met.
Yeah, I unfortunately have gone through that. I felt like I was just rambling, trying to get my thought, trying to catch up, making sure that I was, where I was supposed to be and what I thought was my speech. So, yeah, it's kind of like it's stressful.
Yes. Stressful also, too, brings up emotions because I'm going to be real honest.
Yeah.
I'll ask you this question. How did you feel not necessarily giving the speech that you really wanted to give? And again, this is before you met me, so I allow
This was
make
before.
allowances. How did you feel? Were you
I will say that it was before I started working with Jennifer Samuel Child. Please believe. You said, how did I feel? I
yeah.
felt disappointed. I was disappointed in my performance. I knew that I could give more information that would have been more valuable had I prepared myself. And I just felt really like just so nervous because I knew I wasn't prepared.
There you go.
It just reminded me of being back in high school trying to get ready for a speech that I had to do or a paper and not having things ready, and it just I don't know, just want the floor to open up.
There you go.
And
There
take
you
me
go.
out. Yeah, for sure.
Any other questions?
Yes, I do. Let me go back to my notes. So I can talk all day about brand strategy. I can talk about archetypes, in my speech, but I have a hard time bringing me into my speech. And I just don't feel like I'm connecting with the audience. Can you help me with that? What can I do to bring myself into the speech and connect with the audience?
Got it. So part of the phases that I take my clients through after we clarify everything is to really confirm that number one, the speech and topic that you're speaking about resonate with you as a person, and helping you be comfortable, I always say, in your own skin, which means a lot of times when people speak, understand there are three aspects of speech, three main people you need to pay attention to: yourself, the speaker, your audience, and then whatever idea or product it is that you are presenting to them. So it's kind of like a trifecta. And what a lot of people do is they're very willing, especially if it's a sales presentation, they are about them, themselves, and the product or the service. Sometimes they're about themselves and the audience and making sure the audience is having a good time. But they don't necessarily put all three together. So my experience has been, for being a speaker for many, many years, is that in order to really have a good connection with the audience and the product service that you're trying to persuade people to take part in, is to learn how to get comfortable telling your own stories. And I'm always about telling your own unique stories. That doesn't mean that inspirational stories are not all around you. They are. They really are.
We are live.
We are live. I'm about to throw some stuff away. Anyway, they're all around you. But I always want you to present stories that are unique to you so that when people hear and see you in the future, they're going to remember you for that story. Or sometimes, because I always say this, if you have a speech or anything, chances are they're not going to remember PowerPoint slide number 47.
True.
But they'll remember that story you told about your son or about a coworker or about your boss or whoever it is. And that's the way our brains work. Studies have shown, scientists have proven that we as human beings, we think in pictures and we think in stories. True. Even if you tend to be more logically minded and you're about the facts and the figures and the statistics, nothing wrong with that. But if you want to connect to human beings, you have to tell stories. So our goal when we work in the wonderful confirmation phrase is to help you bring those stories up. And that sounds kind of nasty, but no, I don't mean that in a disgusting way. No. They're often usually hidden and buried because you don't think, oh, they're not important, or who's going to want to hear that. So you don't think it's something that you can put into a business speech or an organizational speech. You just think, oh, that's not important. Yeah. And you'd be surprised that I would say this: the speeches that you don't, the stories that you don't share are the ones people most need to hear. So pay attention. And Lisa, you've experienced this where I kind of like take people and shake the stories out of them, literally.
He's been shaking.
But what we do is we give people little nuggets into your personality. If appropriate, we'll give nuggets into clients' personality, their successes. I mean, it all depends again on what the speech is about and what you want people to do after they've heard you. Then we pick stories, usually short and sweet, that provide the glue between you, the audience, and the product, service, information that you're trying to share. So that's how you best connect. Does it take work? Yes, it does. Yes. And also to understand that when you storytell, there is a way of telling stories that is optimal when it comes to speaking than just you and your friend, just having a conversation and you're telling a story. Right. Because sometimes, there are some people that they're great storytellers, but the story takes forever. I mean, it's going on and on and on. Or the story is short and sweet, and you're like, okay, well, what happened?
Not enough.
You didn't talk about what happened. Yeah. So the nice in between, I call it the sweet spot, is learning how to tell stories short and sweet, but giving enough information that people feel kind of satisfied. And most importantly, it relates to the point or the lesson that you're trying to give during the speech. So that's how you best connect. Tell stories.
Mhm.
There are other things too that you do, but when it comes to you and putting yourself into a speech,
Mhm.
learn to tell stories.
And I noticed that you're helping me to do that, because at first you were asking me, to give my story, and then I was like thinking to myself, will people really want to hear about this stuff? But I can see what you're saying
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
That is something that will just it will connect with them and keep me in their memory, I guess, is
Exactly.
what we're
That's
doing.
exactly it. That's exactly it.
And yeah, so I was one that had this verbose story, and she was like, okay, can we just bring, I was like, but I'm trying to get you all the details, and I was talking like and you were like, slow down,
Yeah.
breathe, and now let's take this part out and that part out. But it still tells the story, even though you shortened it and we just kind of molded the details so that it's concise enough. So
Right. And
uh,
like I said, that's the art form of telling stories for, and for lack of a better term, business or organizational purposes.
mhm,
Again, if you're, in a social setting, then you can probably get away with the longer version.
mhm,
But attention spans of audiences is incredibly short these days. So
mhm,
whatever stories you use, and it may not be a story, it may be a couple of phrases, it could be an anecdote, a metaphor, something that's real short, but you
mhm,
need something that people can grab onto and then put it to the point or the statistic or whatever it is that really helps to sell whatever it is you're trying to persuade people to listen
mhm,
to take part of. And you have that small little nugget
mhm.
will just bind everything together and then make it relatable and also put things in context for the audience. So it makes, it is an art form. I had to learn. I'm a professional storyteller. And
Mhm,
I will tell you quite off the bat, I had to learn the difference between performance storytelling,
mhm.
which is entertainment piece that goes on for quite some time,
Okay.
and telling stories as part of a presentation or a speech.
Mhm.
And I had to learn the hard way that, my long, wonderful, flowing stories didn't quite fly. So I had to learn to shorten. And then I learned from other coaches and how to tell them the best way, which is what I
Mhm.
pass on to you guys.
So what was great for me, because I would try to do speeches. Now it's like I was trying to do speeches. Now that I've been working with you, I know that there's a different way to do it. And what I love is that you're helping me to be able to mold the things that I've done with my clients, the success stories, into my speech, and it not feel like clunky. Let me show you my work. It feels like it's part of the story. It goes, and I'm a visual person, so I can actually see my document in front of me, and it makes sense where we're adding them in, and I think that's great. A lot of times people like me, like I said, I can talk about the brand strategy piece. I can tell you about my product, but to actually be able to show you and weave it into my story, I think is just excellent. I'm really enjoying working with you, because it's stretching me, and it's but I know it's something that I can leverage to get more of the right clients into my stratosphere. So I appreciate
Great. Well, thank you, my dear. And it's pleasure working with you. And I say that because that's why I do what I do. It's amazing how much I call it the golden treasure
you.
that everybody that I work with has inside of them, whether it's stories, anecdotes, wisdoms, whatever it is,
Mhm,
that they often look outside of themselves again for the story.
mhm,
And when we start working together and we find that the stories are right inside of you, you don't need to look anywhere. Let's
mhm,
just pull them out. And then all of a sudden, creativity just explodes because
mhm,
they realize, oh, I can talk about me and do it in such a way that people resonate and
mhm,
connect. And then
mhm,
before you know it, they're what's also great is that too, even though you may not be one of those people that's on stage,
mhm. Right.
but a lot of the things we do with story, it may be that you do it talking to a client, potential client, or a peer.
Mhm,
So even in simple conversation, you can possibly take that storytelling skill that you learn and
mhm,
be able to have a conversation with somebody off stage that still gives them the impression that you're really, really, you know what you're talking about, and you're a person they want to connect with. Because
mhm.
again, you're talking to them on their level, storytelling wise, and it makes it great for them to be able to interact with
I can see that. I really can. I think, yeah, that I have grown even in speaking to clients about their needs and their strategy that we could use. I think my vocabulary has even grown as far as what I'm comfortable talking about and subject matter that I can bring into the conversation. I feel and I see the difference, definitely.
Yep. So keep telling them stories.
Well, I'm gonna keep you right here beside me, helping me tell the story.
That's all right. That's all right. I'll be right there.
We will continue to work together. And if you guys like the subject matter that we're talking about, we're going to be doing more of these. So you got to catch us on, what do we say, Tuesdays and Fridays?
Yes, Tuesdays and Fridays.
Tuesdays and Fridays. And if you want to hang out with us, because, we're such cool people.
Yes, we are.
We have an event coming up called Flaunt Your Stage Presence, and it will be in Florida in a beautiful, luxurious mansion where you can sit and focus on how you brand and you tell your brand story, whether it be in your visuals on your website, etc., or if how you come off as for your speech presence, right?
There you go, because I'll be teaching you how to tell in a very, very, very short space of time what you're about so that people connect with you and want to hopefully do business with you. So that should be good.
Yeah, and I will be going through your visuals and helping you to possibly improve and elevate your brand, as well as we have a wonderful photographer coming, Alicia Hunter.
Mhm.
She is a expert at brand content photos, as well as her husband is coming, and this is like a bonus. This is something like separate that's going to take your brand through the roof.
Mhm.
It's He does videography that really tells the story of your brand. And you can use it for your social media channels. You can use it on your website. You can use it. I use mine sending it out for a brunch, where my audience was at the brunch, and it was a networking brunch, and I've gotten calls from that. So
Mhm.
you guys, we have a wonderful event planned for June 23rd and the 24th. So if you want any information about it, please DM myself or
Or me.
Jennifer, and we'll get you the information you need and the link so you can go ahead and sign up.
And don't wait now because it's a very small select group,
Right? It's only
which
10
means only 10 people allowed. Because we
only.
wanted to make sure that we had a group that was small enough so we can give you the attention that you needed and deserved. And then also too had enough time to enjoy the luxurious mansion and the wonderful Florida weather so that you can relax but learn, get your pictures done, get your verbiage together, and we wanted to make sure that it was short and very intimate. So don't delay or wait and say last minute, okay, I think I'll go. Go ahead and shoot us a DM as soon as possible so that we can get you the information. And then should you decide to join us, you can get it all done. And then we'll see you June 23rd, 24th, just to flaunt your stage presence.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on with me, Jennifer.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Lisa.
Thank you. So we'll be back, like I said, Tuesdays and Fridays. So make sure you stay tuned.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. We have to shorten this one because I can't figure out how to get out of here.